I have to talk about Ivan Duque because he's leading the presidential polls right now. He has the backing of Álvaro Uribe, who was the no campaign leader. So what does the future of the peace mean for Colombians?
No, the peace process has to continue. Legally, there's an obligation. The Constitutional Court said for the next 3 periods, 3 presidents, they cannot take any decision that goes against the peace agreement. The FARC has already given up their arms. They have participated in the elections, the most peaceful elections we've had in the last 60 years. So there's no way back. And we are very comfortable that things will keep moving in the right direction, and nobody no matter who wins the presidency, they cannot go back.
But this is only with the FARC. You still have the largest remaining guerrilla group, the ELN, and Ecuador has just pulled out of hosting the talks. So how important is it that you design a long-lasting peace framework before you leave in August?
Well, the ELN is a very small guerrilla compared to the FARC. And yes, the Ecuadorians, because of their internal problems, decided not to host the continuation of the peace talks. But Brazil, Chile, Norway, Cuba, they are all offered, and we're going to decide where we can transfer the talks, and they will continue. They will continue. Hopefully, we will make enough progress for the next president to realize that it's in his own interest and the interest of the country to continue.
Mr. President, peace is a wonderful thing, and you're to be congratulated for what you've accomplished. At the same time, often we look for a peace dividend that will affect the economy in the wake of this peace. Are you receiving that peace dividend? When will you, if it hasn't come yet?
Well, we're already seeing what is happening, for example, in the agricultural sector. The agriculture has been the main driving force of the growth of our economy in the last year and a half. We are seeing a tremendous environmental dividend. Colombia is the richest country in terms of biodiversity per square kilometer. We are now protecting the areas that are patrimony, not of Colombia, of the world, in the Amazon and very rich areas of the country. And we are receiving investment as never before. Colombia has the highest rate of investment in our history and the highest rate of investment in any country in Latin America. You know how important investment is for growth and for the employment. And Colombia now has a investment grade. We did not have that before. We have a fiscal rule. We have an economy that is much stronger than it was some years ago. And with peace, the potential is now opening for new investment and new opportunities.
And yet at the same time, in December, Standard & Poor's actually downgraded your debt. What did they miss that you see, or do you think they were justified?
No, they were, and they said they were very worried that the next president would not maintain the fiscal discipline that we have maintained. But I think they have realized that no matter who is president, they will have to maintain it. Otherwise, then we'll be in trouble. And we have a strong economy, and so hopefully they will not do away with what we have done. On the contrary, they will build on what we have been building.
The peso has weakened slightly last week, but still is on an uptrend. When does the government become involved?
Well, we don't interfere with the markets. We have an independent central bank. That has been very successful. Our inflation is now very low, and that will be maintained. And the peso has strengthened because there's confidence in the Colombian economy. We're one of the countries that has revalued the currency more than any other country in the world in the last months, which is in one way good, but in another way bad because it hurts our competitiveness.
Sure.
But I think we are still in the range that is a normal range.
How does the influx of desperate Venezuelan migrants affect your economic outlook?
It's probably the most important challenge we have now. We have more than 1 million Venezuelans coming into Colombia. This is puts tremendous pressure in our institutions, our health system, our education system, even our employment. And we are trying to manage that in a very pragmatic way. learning from other experiences, and this is a major challenge for us.
So is that getting better? Is it getting worse? Where does it take you ultimately?
Well, unfortunately, it's getting worse because as the Venezuelan situation gets worse and worse, then the influx of Venezuelans into Colombia gets bigger and bigger. So far, we have been able to handle that, and we're learning to see how we can handle that better for the future. And we are doing everything in our power to try to bring a transition in Venezuela, hopefully a peaceful transition to restore democracy in that country.
You said it, a peaceful transition, you hope. As a practical matter, when does a failed state, because that seems to be where Venezuela is headed toward, where does a failed state really pose a threat to your national security?
Well, Venezuela is having an inflation of, I think, 16,000, something like that. There's no economy, no country that has survived a hyperinflation of that sort for a long time. Venezuela is on the verge of imploding, and what we hope is that this implosion will be peaceful and not violent, because otherwise we will have a tremendous avalanche of more Venezuelans coming into Colombia.
Would there be, at one point, a threshold where it would be justified for foreign powers to interfere?
Well, no, we have in Latin America a phantom of foreign interference, military foreign interference. We don't like that. Hopefully this will be fixed by the Venezuelans. We're putting pressure. All the countries in Latin America, or most of them, are putting pressure on Venezuela to take the decision to restore their democracy, and we will continue to put pressure on them.
How important is that Colombia cooperates with the United States in achieving some sort of resolution to Venezuela, especially at a time when President Trump has been a bit critical about coca production surging?
Well, we are collaborating with the U.S. and other countries in, for example, the sanctions that have been imposed on Venezuelans, on specific Venezuelan targets, and we have supported that, and we will continue to support that. And concerning the increase in the coca production, we signed and we made a plan, a 5-year plan, to start reducing the coca production. This was very satisfactory for the Trump government. We're working together. The interdiction of cocaine has increased tremendously because we have been working together. We are now working together with Mexico, the Central American countries. And this is a problem that is not only Colombian. It's a U.S. problem. It's a world problem. Unfortunately, this war on drugs that was declared here in New York 45 years ago, a war on drugs by the world, has not been won. Unfortunately, we have not won that war, and we must be creative in finding new and more effective ways on waging this war.
Mr. President, as President of Colombia, do you understand what the U.S. policy is overall to Latin America? There was a time not too long ago when I would talk to Latin American leaders and they'd say, the only policy you have is you're against Hugo Chavez. That's your only policy. Do we have an articulated policy that Latin American countries can embrace?
Well, unfortunately, we don't see that policy very clearly. We have very good relations with the U.S. because we have been very careful in maintaining a bipartisan relationship, both Republicans and Democrats, for a long time. And our goal is to maintain that good relationship. President Trump was going to go to Colombia. He canceled apparently because of Syria. But that demonstrates that we still have a good relationship with the U.S., and we appreciate that, and we want to maintain that good relationship with both parties.
How much U.S. support are you getting for your inclusion in the OECD?
We are now getting the support that we need. Hopefully, we will end this process before my term ends. And this is another very good news for any investor. A country that is like Colombia, that becomes member of the OECD, gives the investors a certain degree of guarantees that the public policies will be responsible public policies.